think there are two ways that I will address this. The first is by ensuring transparency in my priority list. I believe that you have to have a hierarchy of the things that are most important to you as an elected official. And for me, issues affecting public safety, public health, and equality of our citizenship are at the top of that list. I've been very open and honest that there are other things that fall a little bit lower down that priority list than those things, but certainly equality, immigration issues are at the top of that list, so I'll be transparent about my budget standards. The second piece is I think people can trust me because of my history, my past. I have spent the last 6-7 years of my life in criminal prosecution focusing on the rights and the problems faced by victims of crime, many of whom have been of lower socioeconomic background or immigrants. I also have a long history in the law school of working to protect the immigration clinic. I also volunteered on the Refugee and Advocacy Clinic. I raised over $100,000 for a fund to fund human rights for law students. So I think fundamentally because I'm going to be transparent, and second because I have a history of supporting these issues, that will support my support of these issues going forward in the budget.
One of the things that I do right now is my title is Economic Equity Contracting Manager. And what I do is I help small businesses navigate the very complex city system so they can equitably compete for jobs in city government. I've done this to the tune of about over $20 million for women and minority businesses. We understand that business is built on relationship and that there are rules and confidence that you need to kind of navigate the system. And so this is something that I do every day in the job that I have now. And the main reason that I'm running is a platform on jobs and economy and helping small businesses. It's all in my literature. It's at my website at bobbyforch.com. It's the work that I continue to do by outreaching to the community, understanding the rules of engagement, and connecting people in a meaningful way to ensure that they can earn a livable wage to support their families and their neighborhoods.
Well, I have done that. I've been the budget chair for 3 years at the Seattle City Council, and we have placed minority concerns and small businesses and people, refugees and immigrants and people of color. We've always made them a priority, just along with public safety and other human services. And in fact, each year we have sent a letter to the mayor asking them he observe our priorities, because we know ever since I've been budget chair, it's been hard times. In fact, I managed to be budget chair the first year, 2008, and guess what? Every three years we've had to cut almost 10% out of the budget. And I think we've done very well in Seattle in not affecting human services and not affecting those people of color.
I talk a lot about budget issues on the trail, actually. I think we have some real social justice concerns in terms of where we're making cuts and where we're targeting our spending priorities. I talk a lot on the trail about funding in particular for libraries, for community centers, for parks. We talk a lot about disparities between different corners of the city, especially between schools and one end versus another. And I think we often forget that you're lucky if you've got two parents, you go up to your room after dinner, you close the door, you turn on your computer with your broadband internet access. But for a lot of folks, they may be raised by a single parent, by a grandparent, their parents are out at work so they don't have someone to help them with homework, help direct them where they can find resources to do their reports for school. And so they're counting on going to libraries, going to community centers where there are adults that help them out, point them in the right places to go, access to computer labs, access to internet access that allows them to keep up with their peers in schools. And if we keep cutting away at these things, we're cutting directly at families and students' abilities to keep themselves up and keep themselves moving forward in our economy.
Well, that's part of my job as a leader in race and social justice. For example, during a very tough budget time, I was able to get Wing Luke Museum $50,000 because that organization plays a critical part in the Chinatown International District. I was also able to get the International District Emergency Center Citizen Foot Patrol funds. We restored $36,000 to the Chinese Information and Service Center for the Sunshine Garden Daycare Center. And I give these examples. That's what we have to do. We have to put our money where our values are. We have to have a loud voice, a consistent voice, because there are many people who are overlooked. That's my job, and I think I've done it very well, and I'll continue to do that. I think most people in Seattle understand the issues, that all voices have to be heard. As a true Democrat, as a true community activist, you have to speak consistently and loudly, particularly when funding decisions are made.
This is a huge, huge issue in the campaign, and I'm in this race to represent everybody in Seattle. That's the job of a city council person. The three priorities that I'm pushing in this campaign are strategy for urban neighborhoods, transportation, that means car alternatives to make Seattle more affordable, and economic development. And that means growing the pie for everybody in all parts of the city, starting with neighborhoods. And as far as representing everybody goes, and my job on the council is to actually be visible in the community and make sure that people know how to find me and that I'm a part of the community, even in office. I think that's absolutely critical, and that's what we've been missing on the Seattle City Council, in particular in position 1, in position 3. I think it's absolutely essential that I be part of the community and that that there's no gap between the people I represent and me as an elected official.
Well, this question really strikes home for me, as I'm the son of immigrants myself, and I understand a lot of the problems they face. But at this time, we need social services. We need to be able to allow their young children who are new here to be able to go to school and succeed in this country. We need to be able to have proper housing, proper jobs, and make sure that they're not being marginalized by the law or any other business or process. My goal is to really kind of keep a fire under the business. Make sure they don't slip up on their obligations to themselves and to their employees. So that's where it really counts. And I feel that the more that we keep an eye on this, the more that we keep this attention focused, that we'll do very well for our new community.
So there's several ways we do that. First, we just recently passed a wage theft ordinance that explicitly makes it a crime to deny wages to someone who has rightfully earned them. That's a step in the right direction. Second, we're taking a serious look right now at forming a special position in the city to assist with refugee and immigrant affairs. Haven't made a final decision yet, but that's kind of in the hopper being developed. And finally, we need to make sure that the business climate in Seattle is positive for everybody, so that entrepreneurs want to start businesses, that current businesses that are here want to grow and be successful. I think all of those are practical steps to help minority populations as well as immigrant and refugee populations.
I'm an architect and a community development organizer, civil rights activist, and one of my positions was running the White Center Community Development Association, where I was the first executive director. I can't really answer your question in great particularity because it's such a broad question, but what I can say is that in White Center and also in the LGBT community, I spend a lot of time promoting the interests of people who have been marginalized and also promoting the interest of communities that are marginalized. So for instance, in White Center we started a lot of helped the community start cultural events so that that they could become more powerful in themselves rather than trying to do things on behalf of a community, trying to make communities more powerful. So that would be my approach.
It's a really good question because there are so many things that come at us during the budget. There are people that are advocating for new parks, for police officers, for housing, for shelter, for everything. And we really need to stay focused on, when we have few dollars, who needs the dollars the most and who has the most opportunity to really use the dollars effectively. And I really look at the opportunities to spend in social services right now during the recession and on new immigrant and refugee communities who are looking to gain that foothold and figure out how to start moving up the ladder, that they are very excited to move up and figure out how to give them the opportunity. It's not easy, and I talk about it and it sounds easy right now, but in the budget we have hard decisions to make and we need to prioritize where the dollars really serve people directly. And I think we can do that in the next couple of budget cycles. They're going to be hard. The city continues to lose a little bit of revenue every year. And again, protecting people, protecting the services that are helping people survive when it's tough.
Well, I think one of the things that we have to do is just look at how we're currently allocating resources in the budget. Now, I'm running for Seattle City Council, so there is some control once I get elected over that budget. And I believe that there is actually some waste in that budget and that we can find some additional dollars without necessarily taxing anything heavier so that we can reappropriate it to make sure that we are providing a safety net for immigrant refugees, communities of color, and folks that are being marginalized. An example being, when the mayor came in, he talked about getting rid of some of the strategic advisors. Well, in actuality, that has not happened, and on average, those strategic advisors, which I see as managers, managing managers, are making upwards from $64,000 at a low to upwards to over $100,000. So that if we reduce some of those managers, some of those strategic advisors, which now total around 325, and during Nichols' administration they were about 100 less than that, then I think we have some savings.